What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another WornKibbles video. Today, I've got a story for you all about the time a teacher kicked an entire group of kids out of class over raisins. I'm not even joking. It's a crazy one, so make sure you drop a like and let's get right into it. Alright, so this story was sent in to me by a kid named Joe. Now, Joe was always kind of a quiet kid. He didn't speak much in class, but he always had good grades and he was always respectful and everything. Now, despite this, there was one teacher who always hated him, and we're going to call her Miss Turner. Now, Miss Turner seemingly despised Joe for absolutely no reason. If she asked the class a question, she would yell at him for not answering, and if he did answer, she would yell at him for not letting anybody else answer. That kind of dynamic. It was pretty clear to the whole class that he was her least favorite student, but again, nobody knew why. He was always quiet, always respectful, literally never did anything wrong. So that's a bit of background on Joe and Miss Turner. Not to mention, she was super strict, but would totally break her own rules all the time. She would yell at kids for playing computer games and having food in class, and then she would assign them a guided reading, open a bag of Fritos, and watch Pirates of the Caribbean on her laptop. So Miss Turner was a hypocrite, and so, of course, Joe already hates her class, but one day in Miss Turner's class, Joe walks in the classroom, and there was a box of raisins dumped on his desk. Now, Miss Turner didn't like that, not one bit. She demanded to know who dumped the raisins on the desk, but everyone said that they were already on the desk when they came in. And the next day, the same thing happened. And then the day after that, and the day after that, each time Miss Turner getting more and more enraged, yelling at Joe to stop dumping raisins on the desk. But the raisins kept coming because Joe wasn't the ones dumping them on the desk. He can't stop dumping the raisins on the desk if it's not him doing it. And eventually, after a month of it happening every single day, Miss Turner says, "If there are raisins on that desk tomorrow, when I get into class, you and your entire pod is going to the principal's office." What? The entire pod? Joe is scared now, and so are the people at his table. They've had nothing to do with it. He's had nothing to do with it, and now he basically knows that tomorrow he's going to get sent to the office, because, like I said, he can't stop doing it because it's not him. But, you guys all know what happens next. He walks into class the next day, just in fear, waiting to see that box of raisins on his desk, spilled everywhere. And so does Miss Turner, an evil glint in her eye, because she knows that that box of raisins is going to be there. She knows, and she just likes to yell at Joe. And she gets up at the front of class. "Joe, you are going to the office now. You and your entire pod, take your backpacks with you. I don't want to see you back here at the end of the period. Don't come back." So they stand up and they saunter off to the principal's office, and Miss Turner calls ahead to let the principal know why they're all being sent there, and they are all now sitting in this room with the principal and the vice principal, and they're all sitting there just knowing that they were sent here over a box of raisins. That has got to be the stupidest, dumbest thing to be sent to the principal's office over. And the first thing the principal says to them is, "Guys, we need you to take this seriously." And Joe just starts laughing, because you can't expect somebody to be sent to the principal's office over raisins and then you to go, "This is super serious," and have them not laugh. This is the most unserious thing possible. She is yelling and screaming at you over a box of raisins. I don't blame him. I would have been doing the exact same thing. I would have been right there with him laughing if it were me. Come on. But of course, this just makes the principal and the vice principal way more mad. And so they're like, "Okay, come on, guys. It's not funny. It's not funny. You need to tell us who was dumping the raisins on the desk. We know it was one of you. You need to tell us, or else you guys aren't going to leave. We're going to sit here until somebody tells us. And I don't care if the school day ends. You don't get to leave until we know who it was. And that honestly kind of shuts everybody up for a little bit. They're not laughing anymore at that point. Believe it or not, they're actually pretty terrified because none of them have done it. Like, they don't know who has been doing it. They assume it's somebody from the last period who had her class. It's not them. So they start kind of like looking around the group, like panicked at each other, like, what are we gonna do? Until one kid in the group raises his hand and goes, "It was me. I've been putting the raisins on the desk." But like, you can kind of tell by like the way he said it that it wasn't him, and he was like doing one for the team. Like, he was just admitting that it was him so that everybody else could leave. And honestly, that's crazy. Like, that takes some bravery. Like, that's honestly such a great thing for like a friend to do for you. That's great. And so of course the APs are like, "All right, you all can leave except for you." And so they have the kid who admitted stay, and everybody else leaves. And basically they just like wait outside the office door to like meet up with the kid afterwards and like see what happened. And when he gets out, he's like, "Yeah, I have to do like this detention or whatever." And he like, it's not that bad of a punishment, but it still sucks that he has to do it because they all ask him, they're like, just to make sure, "Did you like actually put the raisins on the desk, or did you just say that?" And he was like, "Yeah, I just said that. I didn't put the raisins on the desk." So they all know it wasn't him. But I guess moral of the story is, I don't know, have good friends, because good friends can get you out of trouble like that. That's pretty cool. But I actually have like an extension to this story, like after, like a few months later, after all of this happened, one of the kids who had sat at this pod decided to test Miss Turner to see if she had like any heart left in her. And for April Fool's Day, he thought it was a good idea to bring in a bunch of boxes of raisins, which is pretty brave. Like, that's a pretty crazy thing to do, but he thinks it'll be like April Fool's, and then she'll be like, "Ah, ha, ha, that's so funny." Like, I mean, it's an April Fool's joke. You can't get too mad at that. But he brings in all these boxes of raisins, passes a few out to some of the kids, and then he leaves a box, not dumped out, but he leaves a box on her desk. Then he just sits back, relaxes, and waits for the bell to ring at the beginning of class. And so the bell rings, Miss Turner walks in, and when she walks in, she sees one of the kids that he had given a box of raisins to eating that box of raisins. And immediately, she starts yelling. She doesn't even see the boxes of raisins on her desk. She doesn't see any of the other boxes of raisins. She only sees one box of raisins. And she just starts going crazy. "Is that a box of raisins in my class? I swear this is the last time anybody will ever have raisins anywhere near here. The next time I see raisins in my class, the entire classroom is getting sent to the AP office." And this is when the kid who had brought in raisins realizes that there's still a box of raisins sitting on her desk, and she hasn't even seen it yet. But somehow, some way, Miss Turner is so distracted by the fact that this kid is eating raisins in her class that he can stand up from his desk, run over, Mission Impossible style, like roll through the classroom. Not actually, he just walked over, but he picks the box of raisins off of her desk, puts it in his pocket, and he gets back to his desk, sits down without her noticing that he had even stood up. He learned two things that day: that raisins weren't funny, and that Miss Turner definitely couldn't take a joke. I'm actually surprised that he survived that, but he must have had like the luck of centuries on his side. But that's about it for the video, guys. He actually did leave a box of raisins like on the shelf in her classroom for her to find at some point. But if it were me, I definitely wouldn't recommend doing anything like that. What I would recommend, though, is subscribing to the WornKibbles channel and leaving a comment on this video. Yes! Anyway, I post weekly. Every single Thursday, I post a new Storytime video. And if you like that, subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. And I'll see you next week. As always, thanks for watching.